lot of companies face challenges when trying to promote their DE&I or diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives because it's such a delicate topic that they need to be very mindful of, especially in Western culture where this is really becoming more prominent. You're going to face cultural, social, possibly even political implications depending on how you handle it. So one of the ways in which advisors like Baldwin Risk Partners are trying to help mitigate this challenge for companies is to look specifically at, for instance, what I do, employee benefits, and make sure that you're looking at it from an inclusive perspective for people with diverse backgrounds, people that have faced adversity or traditionally haven't been a part of the industry before. So looking at specific contract language to make sure that there's no roadblocks or barriers to actually receiving those benefits is very important. You'd be surprised, there are some traditional wording in contracts that excludes, for example, individuals in the homosexual community for surrogacy benefits because they have to, it's a common traditional language that they have to be actively trying for 6 months to procreate in a traditional way, which is just obviously not something that is relevant to that community. So there's an actual barrier to receiving the benefit because of old contract language. So Baldwin Risk Partners is really helping dive deep into that type of language to make sure that people can access benefits appropriately.
It all stems, if you want to do a good job, like diversity is valuable. And the reason it's valuable is diversity of thought will drive you to a better answer. So if you're just doing diversity and DEI initiatives or ESG initiatives to get the medal or to feel good, it's not fundamentally going to change your business, right? You need to be committed to better decision making, and better decision making comes from diversity of thought. And diversity of thought comes from recruiting and retaining people with different backgrounds who think about problems differently. So, one of our core values, we have 7 core values at Sterling. I won't bore you with all 7, but one that's very, close to my heart is that the best idea wins. And when we're committed to the best idea winning, regardless of role in the organization, regardless of tenure, regardless of background, and that drives everything that we do from recruiting to how we serve our clients, I think that will drive better outcomes in terms of diversity. So we applied that type of thinking in everything that we do at Sterling. And I think in order to enable that within your organization, you have to be humble. You have to try to create, it's challenging, you have to try to create a very low ego organization where being right is not an individual metric. It's getting to the right answer that's celebrated, regardless of the source of that answer. So I think that's something that I see that organizations, that's the organization we are trying to become, we're striving to become. I think the organizations that are going through the motions to get the t-shirt or to feel like they're diverse without necessarily understanding their why they're doing it, that's where I think you can create tension or make, some bad decisions if you're not doing it for the right reasons.
This question could be answered in a million ways. So typically when a company is looking to hire diverse talent, you have to consider the backgrounds of these individuals. Perhaps you do need to consider race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, neurodiversity, physical ability when you are hiring and or promoting within your workforce as well. So making sure that not only are you promoting internally to leadership positions, people that perhaps traditionally haven't been in those roles before, but when you do that, you're actually mirroring the population by which you serve. Your organization's clientele, even the employees in it, will be more fairly represented. And it's important too that when you take referral candidates for jobs, that you do ensure that they're also very comfortable being inclusive of their peers as well. It's very commonly known that if you have a more diverse or understanding workplace, then people feel more comfortable to do their best work.
Yeah, I think recruiting is very interesting. And I mean, I don't think we've unlocked all of the secrets yet, but what we're trying to do at Sterling is how do we find the best and brightest minds in the insurance space and marry them with athletes that come from a range of diverse industries and backgrounds so that we can learn the best of what's happening in our industry, but also apply learnings from other industries and other areas of business and create a great organization. And we're doing that all remotely. We're a remote first organization. We've committed to that as our journey going forward, and that has its benefits and it has its challenges. From a recruiting standpoint, sometimes it gives you an edge over other firms that are asking people to be in the office every day. But also from a collaboration and culture building standpoint, it's definitely more challenging and something that as leaders we think about a lot. But we're committed to trying to create that amalgamation of talent from within the insurance industry and bringing in great athletes from outside. And I think when we do that effectively, we have a diverse recruiting strategy by design, and that enables us to have hopefully a very diverse workplace with lots of diversity of thought and better decision making, better problem solving. I think the other thing that we're trying to do a great job of, and again, this is challenging for leaders because you have to commit to playing the long game, but we always promote from within as kind of the foundational belief in our business. Now, that's not to say we don't hire folks, professionals at senior levels, because we do. We're growing quickly, and it's something that we still need to do to get great talent. But our general baseline and concept is that an external candidate needs to be at least 30% better than the internal candidate for us to hire an external candidate into the firm, into a senior position. And I believe what that does is when you create upwards momentum in an organization and you have disciplined succession planning, you're able to hire a more diverse pool at entry-level positions. When you have a more diverse pool in entry-level positions, because you can hire from any industry and any background, whether it's a new grad, whether it's somebody that's an engineer, and then you can teach them the business and the fundamentals of your business, of your client's business, and then they're able to kind of grow within your organization. So that's ultimately what we're trying to accomplish. And we believe that in 5 years and 10 years, we ultimately want to have our senior leadership team be populated with people that have grown up in our organization and not only have come from diverse backgrounds, but have had diverse experiences within Sterling. And so they understand really how everything works end to end.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the employee benefits piece of it. When you have employees, let's say in other countries, we're here doing a global conference. There are so many differences based on the jurisdiction by which your employees are working. So when you look at the benefits policies, talking about accessibility, let's make sure that the benefits are relevant in the country, but also there are no roadblocks to receiving those benefits. So look at the location of your employees. Perhaps some of the carriers that you're considering for medical policies have a very strict set of hospitals that they want employees to use. But if you have employees that live in rural areas, how are they able to access the same benefits or the same sentiment of the care that they're looking for? So oftentimes technology comes into play on that. Sometimes you have a global employee assistance program that can assist with providing the pieces if technology in the medical program isn't a possibility. Also look at the nuclear family structure. Let's talk a little bit about, here in the United States or even in a lot of the Western nations, you have a very typical employee dependent children and perhaps a spouse, right? But in some countries, if you want to be competitive and you want to hire and retain talent, you need to consider parents are very important in this culture. So giving benefits to your parents or even to your in-laws is actually one way for your employees to feel seen, heard, and really truly accommodated. In other countries, it's very legal to have several spouses. So ensuring that your benefits cater to that population as well is very important.
We at Sterling are big believers that culture trumps policy. So everything, if you believe that diversity is important, your policies will reflect that. If you try to solve the problem the other way around and use policy to create culture, I don't believe it's really a winning strategy. So we are committed to having the best idea winning, having a low ego organization, hiring the best people that we can possibly find. And this is, something that we've done. We've committed to being a remote first organization. So if we're going to be remote first, why don't we hire people internationally? So our head of partnerships is based in the UK. Our head of finance is in Madrid. Our chief information officer is in Silicon Valley. We've actively gone out beyond the borders of our country, just try to find the best people to work at Sterling. And these are policies that we have in place around recruiting, around how we think about our business, but it's all driven by the culture and the company that we want to create, right? So our policies are a reflection of who we want to be. And I think some firms at times, and we see this with our clients, they're trying to implement policy without understanding where they're trying to go. And that's where you feel emptiness in kind of the outcome. You don't necessarily drive the behaviors in the organization that you're looking to see.
There's a lot of really good ways to track it. Some are as simple as how many programs did we implement this year that have to do with employee resource groups. You can look at how many people did we hire that fit in XYZ category, which truly is the bare minimum, in my opinion, that companies should be doing. This should not be about ticking a box to say that you met a DE&I initiative. Ask your employees how they feel, if they feel understood, if they feel supported by their company. Oftentimes the employee resource groups, you could have some that focus more on equity for race, ethnicity, gender, and then promoting allyship. So even people that don't necessarily pertain to that community or don't face adversity in that same way can learn how to be better allies to individuals who are in the same company. So how many programs did you put in place to help support that? Did you have any fireside chats? Did you have any meetings? Did you put money toward these resource groups? Did you allocate resources so that they could host events of their own? And then have a voluntary feedback loop. This is important because it's not up to the individuals who do face this adversity or these that come from different backgrounds to educate anyone else on how to make them feel more accommodated. It's very much on each individual to learn about the differences in order to become more inclusive. So an organization has a unique opportunity to provide these resources so that employees can learn. And then for the employees who do feel like it's important to share their opinion, share their experiences, have a voluntary way in which they can share that feedback so that a company can improve those things for next year.
I mean, I think that's a great question. And I can talk about the strategies that we're implementing. I mean, transparently, I think as a remote first organization, we're still trying to figure out how do you create a tremendous culture? How do you build and how do you design, build, and maintain a tremendous culture when really you're not seeing each other face to face all the time? So the things that we're trying to do ultimately is I want everybody's voice in the organization to be heard. So there's lots of messaging tools. We use Slack. We're very active on Slack. But we have different mechanisms in terms of our communication frameworks where we're sharing great performance publicly. We're trying to create a lot of public awareness and public opinion sharing within the organization in different platforms. So whether that's on message boards like Slack, so messaging tools, we call out great performance asynchronously, either through message or video. So we use asynchronous video for company communications very often. So I do a video to the organization every week. And again, it's just trying to create those connections and interactions that you would have in a physical business or physical office that we no longer have. So how do we need to be very deliberate about creating those things and creating opportunity for everyone in the organization to feel like they can share. So a small example, we have a kudos channel on Slack that's very active, where anybody can basically say thank you to anyone else in the organization for great performance. And again, that's just creating the culture that anybody can speak up and anybody can kind of pat each other on the back. And that's something that we're very active, regardless of your role within the organization. We have town halls monthly, and in the town halls we try to create very inclusive narratives and speakers within those. So we introduce every new employee to the entire firm every month, anybody that's joined the firm. and we're trying to encourage more and more people to present, to be part of the organization that's actually sharing. So we're trying to create, a very flat feeling in the organization where everybody has a part to play and everybody gets to contribute. So that's really the key approach. We're doing that. We use a number of different other tools, whether it's lunch and learns, or just deliberate opportunities where we're forcing connection in the organization and empowering people to speak their mind in those forums.